Good evening, everybody. And when I've get myself full screen, I'll be with you. Right, there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
That's a relief.
My apologies because things having a bit of trouble because StreamYard has decided to update itself, and some of the things, for some mysterious reasons, are not working. So life could be tough tonight, but we'll soldier on through, shall we? We'll soldier on through in our own sort of stoic style. So yeah, been a busy old week, hasn't it? This week, lots of things doing. Bit warm weather again.
Yep.
Seen a few friends and
a
few things happened, and one of them will bring on the stage now. Our regular, Mr. Eric.
Eric
the man himself. Eric the man himself. How
you
doing, Eric?
I'm doing well, thanks. Hope you guys are.
We are.
Yeah, we're okay. We're good.
Fair to middling, as they say.
Yes.
Okay.
Likewise. So I'm just going to pop that up there in case anybody wants to join us, because interesting subject tonight. We're talking about organic growing and quality food, really, and that's kind of a special interest to me because I've tried that myself. I haven't used pesticides or chemicals since I've been here in Portugal with what I've grown, and they've all been pretty good, tasting stuff. Now, this guy who we're having on, Eduardo, he's a little bit of an expert at this because he sells fruit and vegetables locally in little trays and boxes. He's got his own farm, nursery, and he does like tours of forests and stuff. So he's going to be really, really interesting to talk to tonight. So I've really been looking forward to meeting this guy. But before we do that, we'll just cover a few things, a bit of housekeeping, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the rugby.
We did the rugby,
which
which was Portugal versus Ireland. And probably looking at Ireland, it was their B or C team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of them are on the Lions tour at the moment. I think that's down under.
Yes, they are.
Down under. And how could we describe should we talk about the day or the results or what? Because it's a kind of, the whole thing was a kind of game of two halves. And I don't mean the rugby. I mean the whole day, really. We had a lot of fun, Eric doing the business, showing us around Lisbon, which was lovely. His manor, yeah, on Eric's manor, and we had a right old giggle, and did loads of stuff. And then we went to the rugby, and that was really a bit of a how can you describe it?
I would say butchery. Really.
Butchery.
That's the way I can see it. Unfortunately,
I would say it was a massacre. It was a massacre.
Yes,
but they did score.
They did score
in typical Portuguese style, which was very, very fluid and fast, which I love to see. But I think they need a defence, really.
But I'm being contentious now.
Oh, right? Not like you.
Yeah, I am going to actually give it everybody to the way I feel. I don't know. I doubt very much whether I'm going to follow Portugal anymore because I think the level of effort coming from those players was not what I'd like to see. Mm-hmm. If I'm putting hard money on the table, how long was the trip? 2 hours down there. Yeah, sort of messing about for hours on end, and then basically getting into the stadium. And I mean, we hadn't even sat down, had we? Because we had to queue outside for quite some time.
Well,
and I think it was 26.
They'd scored a few times even before
28-0, and I think it was 10 minutes by the time we got to sit down.
Yeah,
something like that. Anyway, it was just incredibly awful to witness.
It was an awkward matchup, really.
It was an awkward matchup.
But then you've got to play these teams. They have to play them.
We have to point out that we followed Portugal. We went to Leicester, didn't we, in England?
Yes,
followed them there, supported them there against England. And they got a bit of a massacring there.
Not quite so much of massacring,
but
now I will still watch them because I like to see them attack. I just love that fluidity, and it reminds me of the Wales and the French.
No, I think in spurts, there's still that about them,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to seem too mealy-mouthed, right? But really, a line has to be drawn in the sand here. That performance was not good enough by any stretch of the imagination.
No, totally outclassed.
It wasn't just outclassed for me. It was like being bulldozed, and I mean, you remember that guy that came off after about 15 minutes?
I think it had enough.
I think basically, and everybody's giving him a round of applause and well done and all that. And I'm looking at him going, "You're quitting, aren't you? You've seen the strength of the opposition, and you're going, this isn't for me today."
Well, it
You're
is
not
what it
talking
was.
about the guy who was stretchered off, were you?
No,
I think
he was a genuine injury. He was the other guy, who had the cramp.
Yeah.
I and I'm sorry, Eric, because you were looking forward to a rugby game, and you didn't really get one there. What you got was men versus boys, really, and their heart wasn't in it. You could tell by the way they were going into the tackles and their commitment. They knew they were outclassed, but they'd lost the fire. They'd put the surrender flag up.
I think that's a fair comment, but I think we won't labour that point too much. But
well, sometimes we have to,
At least we got to see the guys and some time with Eric and had a good time.
Well, apart from that, right, we had a splendid time, didn't we?
Yes.
Like I say, the train trip down wasn't too bad.
No. Okay.
I mean, like, for getting to Lisbon, what was it? €10 from Tomar, which is about a 2-hour trip. €10, 20, something like that.
That's good.
Is that incredible? Good trains. All right, it was a bit of a long journey, but people use them pretty well, nice and clean. Fantastic little trip down. Get out. We have a go around all the restaurants,
and we had a free Chinese meal.
We had a free Chinese meal as well. We can't moan, we can't complain, and the food was really good.
Which we will give them we will give them a little mention.
We will give them a mention
when we've put something together,
which is mainly my fault.
Now, also that little intro there, the motorbike crew that we had on the other week from Masas Donna Maria, looks like they've been out and about. Sent me a few photos. I gather that may have been the Estrellas, where they went for their little
which
get together.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that looks good, and they enjoyed themselves. Hopefully they'll keep sending us some more of their events, and keep doing that. Now our guest has just disappeared for some reason, and I'm worried because his phone.
Come back.
His phone's run out. You got to. Just as I was about to bring him on, he's disappeared.
Do you mind?
He didn't like the way you were talking about his rugby team.
No, probably, yeah. But I mean, I've got to tell people the truth, right? That was not any stretch of the imagination good enough. It just wasn't. But how did you actually come by Eduardo, and what's the story of him coming here?
I met Eduardo at the Amigos market. Oh, he's back in. Here he is. I'll bring him on just in case he disappears again. So at least I'm not rude leaving him back. There he is, the man himself, Eduardo. We met at the Amigos market, and I instantly loved what you were doing, because you seem like a man who is in touch with the world around him, and you've got this presence about you that is a contentment, and you just seem to be just totally into what you're doing. And you I had a look at the plants that you got and stuff, and it's all good stuff. And then I did a bit more research on you. I found out you do like vegetable trays for delivery to people in the area, and you've got your own nursery farm, and then you have people come around and do walks where you take them into the forest and show them things you might be able to use, and plus much more. Before we get into all that, maybe you should tell us your story, because I asked you this before on the video, but how you got here to where you are now, and where you came from, and maybe why.
So it's an interesting question. I've been trying to recover some of the memories and weaving the stories to find what brought me here. And in these memories, the ones I remember, I see myself as a kid watching nature being nature. And one of the memories I remind myself the other day was watching ants going up a passion flower vine and the ants would enter inside the flowers and they would come out. And I remember asking, why are they doing this? What's there? What's inside? And so I broke up a piece of the flower and I opened it up and I found that inside there was like a sugary water. And I learned from the ants that if I would break a flower and I would suck the tip of the flower, then I would get that sweet nectar. And this is like the oldest memory I could come by to, like, okay, so why am I on this path? And from that moment on, a lot of things happened. Like I was really lucky to have my grandparents living in Nazareth. And my grandmother, especially, she was really into having like a small garden, vegetable garden. And she was really into medicinal plants and eating healthy, having an healthy diet. And I would be with my grandparents mostly in the summer vacations, but I would spend all of the summer vacations with them. And so for those months, 2 months or so, I was constantly in contact with being in the forest or being just in the garden with my mother, my grandmother, actually. But the rest of the time, I was really a city boy. I lived in the city. I studied in the city with all my city friends. And so so life goes on, and I didn't really thought of doing anything related to nature, other than I just really enjoyed being in nature. And then I went to study international relations in Coimbra. And for me, this is another turning point. After systematically studying how this system works and how do like nations behave and all of that complicated stuff.
Did it kind of did it give you a sort of balance, a sort of balanced view to, like, there is the outside world, how other people live, and then looking back to where you came, did it make you sort of long? Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
Seeing the state of things now, and I've always been a really provocative, not normal person. And so I've always have this necessity of asking why, and like feeling really bad for me to fight against the system that's it's completely breaking apart. The only thing I found was coming to the countryside and farming, and so I started coming back to these memories from my childhood, and okay, maybe this path makes sense.
Okay, what I will do with your permission, I think we may have a slight delay.
COVID was really another big turning point.
We might have a slight delay on your signal, so I'm going to try and work around that. What I will do, Eduardo, is I'm going to just try and link up with your website. If you just give me a second. Hopefully I can do this. So we should see. Hopefully you should be seeing what I'm seeing. This is now your nursery, your farm, where you happily work. Yes, some lovely images there. And we're talking about. Would it be right in saying organic produce?
I cannot say it's organic because I don't pay to say it's organic. And
okay,
this is another big thing.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. The certification.
Well, the certification's quite hard to get hold of. I mean, it's really kind of rigorous. But basically, as I'm understanding, you try to avoid pesticides, etc., as much as possible, and produce things in a natural way. Is that correct? Would that be fair to say?
Yes, it's the complete truth. I don't even know. Like, I used to work in a nursery, in a regular nursery, and I used to sell a lot of chemical fertilizers.
Yes.
And I can say I don't know how to work with them. Like, I've never tried using them. I don't. It doesn't even come up to my mind.
So tell me about some of the fertilizers that you use, which are natural. How do you create your own fertilizer, or do you buy that in? Tell me about the
Yeah.
fertilizer.
So being in the ultra intensive system, which is the no dig, I'm constantly farming, and so I need to supplement the soil with a fertilizer. And you can
Mhm.
find organic fertilizers. The one I'm using, it's called Amicot, made from an entire organic process. And that's just one of the components I usually add to the soil. Um, I also make my own compost. I make compost tea. I make nettle and comfrey compost juice. I
Oh, well, that's what
also,
we call a tea. Yeah. Um,
mhm.
I know what you mean. It's a kind of
It's a
amalgam.
it's a maceration.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
called a maceration.
But it's
Uh,
basically a kind of liquid mulch, yeah,
Multi-fertilizer.
fertilizer, which you spread on
mhm.
and around vegetables and plants.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have a question. I have another question. You use a no dig technique, which I've heard of. Now, to me, what I was always taught as a
Yeah.
gardener is you've got to rotate the soil and get air into it and
To
put
oxygenate it.
oxygenate. You got to put stuff in there and you've got to make it more. Now this goes completely against that, doesn't it?
Yes. So I don't turn the soil. I aerate the soil by lifting it with a broad fork. And this means that I'm lifting chunks of soil at one time and I'm not mixing the layers of the soil. And those first 20 centimeters of soil, it's where most of the microbiology is, and all of the um, microbes and bacteria and all of the tiny minuscule beings. And those are the most important beings in agriculture and for plants, though they make the connections between each plant and between the plants and the fungi. And if we are constantly rotating those layers, we are always breaking those channels of communication. And the no dig approach tries to keep them as much as possible, in a way that all of that grid under the ground can function at its best and supply the plants with the needed um, nutrients they need. Because plants don't just digest and absorb the nutrients that are in the soil. Those need to be broken down first by the microbes.
Well, that's a very good point because we have a friend, Jason, who grows fruit and vegetables like you, as near as goddamn it organically. And I had a conversation with him very, very similar. Is the fact that he doesn't see that you should turn the earth and move it for exactly the same reasons that you do. That is where all the work goes on, all the microbes and everything and happening. And all you're doing basically when you break the earth is you're going back to square one. All those poor little microbes and stuff have got to start again. So it's like scalping something and then waiting for the hair to grow again and come back to normal. So
Can we leave that subject alone?
so that's a fascinating way to look at things. And have
So
you found that?
actually, all you do is go into the soil and just lift it. So
Yes.
there's no turning.
There's no turning. The only turn, or I then use some other tools. And one of these tools, it's called a tilter, and it has blades. It's like a rotavator, but the blades go like 5 centimeters into the soil. And this is just so you can mix the fertilizer and the compost with the actual soil. And you have like a surface ready to seed or to plant.
I understand.
Right. So as far as how do you get on with weeds, like weed control? How is that taken care of?
So no-dig also is a great way of having less and less weeds by each time, because our soil is a big deposit of seeds, and seeds can be years in the soil without germinating. And if you are constantly bringing those seeds back up from the soil, they will germinate. And if you don't, then they will just be in the layers underground, and they won't be able to sprout. And by adding compost that's been well composted, you are not adding new seeds to the garden bed, to the vegetable bed. And so no-dig is also a solution for weeds. And I'm not saying I don't have any weeds, I do. And that you really need to be on top of them. And for that, there are also manual tools. I only use manual tools that are really easy and really, they just do their job really easily.
Can you take me through the process of composting? How you produce compost?
Okay, I have to confess that I'm a really lazy composter. So usually I have my compost bins in the chicken coop, and I usually take all of the organic material from the farm. I add them to the compost bins. And then I let the chickens go there. They will scrape and they will turn. And then my job is to actually just go there and put the mount back up together and give it some watering. But this process usually for me takes about 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. And so I have an input. I have to buy compost from a compost factory.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you use a kind of mixture then of your own compost and compost that you buy in, yeah?
Yes.
So what kind of proportions would you say you produce? What, 30%, 20% of your own, or is it more?
Yeah, I would say about 20%. Yeah.
20% you of your own compost, which I suppose is an important ingredient, really, because that's the natural sort of microbes from that area combined with compost which you buy in. But I've tried composting here myself, and have you ever kind of covered it up in like you make your compost pile, you aerate it, you can use things like urine to which is nitrogen to get it to fuel it to get it going.
To accelerate.
And I think the idea is you cover it up and then it kind of cooks from within, and the heat that comes out of a compost heap like this is phenomenal. You can see when you scrape it back and the steam rises that it's really a force of nature to witness. And in that cooking process, you can get rid of a lot of the seeds, of weeds and etc. And also, it's a very quick process here too. I mean, in Britain, I'm used to it taking months, but in the space of 1 month, you can make compost here if you use that technique.
Yes.
It's very labor intensive.
It is labor intensive.
That's the thing. It's too labor intensive, and I'm mostly farming on my own, so it's really hard to be on top of everything. And so compost was just one of those things that I had to have left behind. So.
Yeah.
But it surprises me that there aren't many people, Portuguese people, that seem to compost things. They just tend to burn them, and that's it, really.
Yes.
Which is a bit of a waste. I mean,
the sad truth.
You can use the ash for stuff, but it just seems to waste all that material that could be recomposted and reintroduced back into the ground is going to waste. But that's a different story.
That's coming from our tradition, though. I mean, the Portuguese have, here for millennia and have developed their own ways of coping with the ecosystems and really, that's up to us to learn. You know, there's got to be a good reason why they're not composting.
I don't know why that would be. I mean, I always think
No, it's just I would say it's because it's the easiest option. And like in Portugal, you really don't have much access to like wood chips. I don't have easy access to wood chips because that's not a really common thing in Portugal like it is in the US. And so I think we have a long way to still learn how to do stuff. Because burning, even if it was an adaptation for all over the centuries, it's not the best way. Definitely, it's not the best way. So
Well,
I
there's
would
only
say
so much
we
kind of
have a lot
charcoal
to.
content you can have in a compost. Before it just becomes
it will change
toxic.
the chemical balance, won't it, of the compost? So
You've got to have a good mixture of you know,
And you are releasing if you are burning all the dead wood and carbon, you are releasing that carbon back to the atmosphere, and
it's a
you
very good
want it
point.
back in the soil.
And of course, the other thing
So
I've noticed,
I think
the other thing I've noticed here is that you Portuguese, yourself accepted, seem to be chemical mad. You've got to spray everything, and everything's got to have weed killer on it or some sort of chemical, which has to be really expensive. I mean, how in your own methods do you sort of avoid pests and diseases to your plants? You've obviously found a way around that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
so. Having pests, it's a constant thing. You never get really rid of pests. Even now, I tried sowing a bed of arugula. I forgot to do what I usually do to stop these pests in specific and others, which is covering the garden rows with a net, a really fine mesh to keep the pests from getting inside into the crop. But like I forgot to do this to cover the crop, and all of the rocket it's just holes. Like you can see there are some leaves, but it's mostly holes. So one of the ways I found to to stop the pests from coming in is this one. It's covering the rows with a fine mesh. And this is a physical way of stopping the bugs from getting inside. Other things I sometimes do is I spray with neem oil and diatomaceous earth, but it's really not something. It's like the last resort, because usually, like I'm usually I get aphids, all right, and it's not that it's not that many, but I would let them stay in the plants for 2 weeks. And then usually after 2 weeks, the ladybugs and the wasps, they all come in and they get rid of the pests. And so sometimes waiting, it's important. Even though, yes, I'm going to have a delay on the crop, but I would rather have a delay of 2 weeks than spraying with a chemical or because then
it's frozen again.
I was going to ask him about the. It looks like you've frozen it. Yeah.
Well, by the way, neem oil.
Neem oil, yeah.
You can ask what that is.
No, I do. Well, I know of it.
I think neem.
I was going to ask where you could get it here.
Neem oil, if my memory serves me right, is tea tree. Is it a tea tree mix?
No, neem oil. It's a plant, so it's a tree, and the oil is extracted from the fruits or the tree. It's not tea tree. Tea tree, it's made into a essential oil that it's really good for skin infections, for example.
Yeah.
Is it something to do eucalyptus?
No. It's because I thought it was part of the neem oil group. Maybe it's a different part of the neem oil plant group, but I also thought it was. But I am wrong. I'm wrong. So learned something tonight.
So when you're planning your sort of
go ahead.
Your year and looking at the crops that you want to grow, what are the main crops that you think are really successful here in Portugal?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Hmm. So potatoes, any salad, vegetables. So I would say lettuce and arugula. Beets are also really popular, and carrots, obviously. Tomatoes are like my biggest crop because everyone likes organic tomatoes. And I don't know, like the first time I ate a tomato that I grew myself, it was really different from the shop. And there's no
So
way back. Like
do
after
you
you,
grow larger tomatoes or do you grow smaller
I
tomatoes?
grow, I grow all of the
Oh,
kinds. I grow the really tiny tomatoes. I'm not remembering the name. And then the big beef tomatoes, also black tomatoes. So I like to keep trying new stuff and adding new varieties. Um, yeah, and I would say, and those are the like biggest crops for me, at least.
So what's the
But
most
also
difficult? What's the most
the
difficult
most,
things to grow?
but those they can be really tough because of mildew, like early in the season. Spooky. Um, and like here, yes, and here, no, for zucchinis, for me at least. Like last year, I had a glut of zucchinis, and this year it's really hard. But the plants look really healthy, and I don't know. It's just some years things seem to not work that fine. But I would say potatoes, yeah.
Okay. Have you
Yeah,
tried
potatoes for me,
peppers?
usually it's the most difficult.
Yeah.
Now you see, I grew some potatoes, and my field it's not
Yes, I do
the potatoes
peppers,
I grew
and
were the
the
best
ones
I've ever had.
Yeah.
They were
I
marvelous. They
have this
really
year,
were,
they are really, they are looking
really
really
good.
great.
Now then, we're talking about, like, do you ever plant other plants amongst your crops to a companion plant, so that helps, keep away different types of pests
To deter.
to deter?
Yes.
Is that one of your methods as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we keep losing your signal,
Yeah.
Eduardo.
Yeah.
For
Something.
deterring the pests, I'm sorry, I really don't.
It's not your fault. It happens.
It's not great.
It happens. Yeah, the companion planting recorders. I used to put marigolds. I think
Yeah.
it was marigolds in amongst things because they're pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So I usually do companion planning, but not in the sense that I'm deterring pests away. Because in my case, it's really hard to have like crops not coming out of the ground at the same time. So I can then replant the whole bed. But I do intercropping. So I will plant salads in between spring onions or onions, let's say, and I will plant beets with onions, and I will plant peas with garlic. So I do some, but it's not too much for the best part of the process, because I find that I also don't have a garden that is just straight garden beds. I have usually in between each vegetable bed, I have like a row of trees and shrubs, and I find that these rows, like the in between of the vegetable garden, it's like what's really important to have these beneficial insects that then will work on deterring the pests.
Okay, that's good. So, what really are your kind of best sellers? What are your main things that people come to you to buy?
In terms of the vegetables, of all of the things I do.
Well, probably all the things, because I'm sure you grow fruit too. Yeah.
No, not actually.
No.
So I'm only here for 4 years now,
Uh-huh.
and most of the fruit trees I have were only planted 3 years ago, so they are really juvenile. They
Right.
only started fruiting this year, most of them.
Yeah.
So it's really about the vegetables and about the medicinal herbal products.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like you. I planted some fruit trees maybe 2-3 years ago, and I'm just starting to get fruit on them now.
They're suffering a bit this year, though. They're looking
Well,
a bit wilted.
some of them are, some of them aren't. The persimmon that is started to fruit, and that's the first time it's fruited since I had it. Most of the fruit trees out in the field, because it's so hot, and it's really difficult to water in there. They are suffering. But at the other place, I've got plums, I've got pears, apples, grapefruit, oranges.
It's
So
amazing,
it's
isn't it?
it's just the climate. It's like a microclimate,
Yeah.
and it makes a big difference.
I mean-
And Portugal is like that, isn't it? You
Oh,
get that
God, it is so amazing, and the figs.
figs.
Yeah,
Yes,
you have figs. Yeah,
you got both. We've got
You've
the
got-
yellow and the
you-
dark figs.
that you have those golden figs,
Oh,
and then
they're
the dark,
gorgeous.
which are intensely beautiful things, and it's incredible. You can just go for like a walk, and you can see people growing stuff in gardens, or they grow wild. You've got lemons, oranges, figs, all sorts of nuts as well.
Nuts, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, you cannot fail in a way in Portugal to grow stuff. It's just nature's force is there in the land.
I think here in Portugal you have the best oranges I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
Nothing can compare to them. They
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
Forget Florida. I'm sorry, Eric, but Florida.
Forget New York, Eric, and
No,
the,
the oranges in
the
New York.
orange groves there. Honestly,
I have a question from Simon, Squire of the Shires. Is sweet corn a viable crop? Now, I'm not quite exactly sure what that means. Does that mean here or in general? It's sweet corn grows here, doesn't it?
Yeah, I grow sweet corn. I have a row of sweet corn just growing now, and it's really also, when it happens, everyone wants sweet corn, so it's also a good crop.
I remember
And
talking
it's
to
just-
somebody, and they were saying that they call it the trinity of vegetables. You have the sweet corn, the abobra, and what was the
Yes.
other thing? Something what grows up? There's another third
Beans.
one. Beans.
Beans.
They are all beneficial to each other, aren't they? So they all help each other.
Yes. So you first want to sow the corn, the sweet corn, or any other, and then two weeks later you want to sow the climbing beans and the pumpkins. And so pumpkins will shade off the ground. The corn will provide a structure for the beans to climb on. And the beans will, in their turn, feed the soil, or at least with a little bit of nitrogen.
Yeah.
So it's a nice companion planting, and I've also done it.
Dropped out again.
Okay, let's go to a few comments. Yes.
Well, that was one of the comments. Lee
Them
reckons that the
growing
best
in
crop is weed.
another.
Yeah. What sort of weed?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll leave that one.
yeah. That's a good question.
Don't
Best
make
crop,
too many bonfires.
best crop is weed. We don't quite know which weed he's talking about. It could be. We won't go there. So we seem to be in store for a windfall this year with some fruits. Well, that's the way it works. You get good fruits one year, you get little
Right.
fruits the next year.
Like Garla, he's speaking from the UK, right? Which is totally different than what we're experiencing.
Yeah, but I think here it's pretty similar. We found that you will get masses of fruit one year from something, and then very little. It's just totally weather dependent. I mean, I think we're going to have a massive olive crop this year by the looks of it, because my olive trees are just loaded to. They couldn't be loaded anymore.
They are.
I'm not sure about grapes. Grapes, probably you're going to probably get a fair good year from those as well. But then there's going to be casualties.
So I do have a question for the gentleman farmer. Understanding a little bit about what you do, I sense that you put a calendar together, like about how you plan to carry out certain plannings and timing of those and stuff like that. Would I be correct in making that assumption to start before I embarrass myself?
Mhm.
Okay. So,
No,
um,
that's right.
so when there's an unexpected either lack of rain or a drought, or an unexpected deluge of rain over an extended period, how does that change your approach as you go on? Because that's obviously something you can't predict. It just kind of comes upon you, right?
Following the plan, usually I make the plan in the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
but things happen and I'm constantly changing the plan. So your plan needs to be real flexible, but you want to have at least a notion like okay, I'm planting this specific kind of broccoli, for example, and there are some later varieties.
Okay.
In about 2 months or 3 months, you will have to have a crop ready to plant in that place. So
Okay.
for me, it
Right.
works as I'm constantly making news. I'm constantly seeding.
Okay.
So Eduardo, how long is your growing season, and how many crops can you get in a season?
Wow, it's a big question. So the growing season in Portugal, it's all year long if you know how to choose your crops and to plant them at the right time. But from March through November or December.
It's
And
amazing.
you can get any kind of you can get every kind of crops. You just need to have the seeds and plant them.
I mean, I think to people looking at the show that are not particularly, they don't know Portugal too well in terms of what it can grow, etc. It's no stretch of the imagination, is it? Is that you can grow stuff 12 months a year here, right? If you're clever and you're good, like in Britain, it's like the US. Obviously, the further north you go, there are seasons, limited seasons, and kind of when you get to like autumn, fall, things stop growing, and you can't really grow anything then until the spring. So you've lost 4 months out of your 5 months sometimes, as if you get in bad weather.
Yeah.
But here, the amazing thing is that you can grow stuff every month of the year.
You can have food coming in virtually every month.
Yeah, and that's
You can forage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Well, we're going to talk about it in a second because
wow, can you forage?
And when we're going to talk about your forest walks, where you go on trips with people into the forest to show them things they can use, plants, fungi. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, there's a big delay.
There is a big delay on this.
Big delay on this.
Was security, and if I didn't have anywhere to buy vegetables or food, where would I get it? And it's growing all over, like even in the cities. You just need to.
Okay, so I think he's saying that there's a lot of foraging that can be done here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can go into the countryside, find all sorts of fruit.
Well, that's what he does. That's what he does. It's not just fruit, but it's herbs, vegetables. Yeah. What I might do is I might go back to his website again because there's a bit on there while he's trying to get his signals sorted out.
Yeah.
So this is what he does. The guided forest tours.
Yeah, so I invite you to immerse yourself in the forest and as we stroll together, learn to identify plants and fungi of edible and or medicinal interest. That's got to be fascinating. That's got to be worth it. We should do this.
Well, I'd love to go on one of the walks. Yeah. I think it's something, we've lost that skill in nature to be able to do
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah, because you know the classic thing is you're looking at a mushroom, and I would never touch a wild mushroom. I've got to be honest,
No.
because I have
No.
got no idea what I'm looking at. And anybody else listening, you know, please don't touch wild mushrooms until you really know what you're doing. Yeah, but I would love to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to, with all the different, especially on the herbs. The herbs I'm very sort of weak on. You know.
Well, it's not just only herbs, but wild plants as well. You know, you can use those. There are many things out here amongst, you know, the fields and hedgerows and stuff that you can use.
Yeah.
You know, this guy knows all about this.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. And he also obviously does his herbal extracts and herbal medicines, teas, condiments, plants. And I've seen his stuff. I bought his stuff, and it's really good quality. It's grown with attention and love and care. And that's one of these, you know, rare things these days. I'm just going to come back to see if he's back with us in person. I've got to bring him back in again. Right, you're still with us, yes?
Sorry
You can still
about
hear us
that.
now. Yeah, I went to your little website there while you were sorting your signal out. Well, I want to talk about your forest walks and what you actually find and go looking for, and the sort of things you might sort of collect as you're going along.
So I'm collecting everything from herbs to roots to fungi, depending on the season. And but I really like to be in the forest and forage for medicinal plants, edible plants, and fungi. It's the most things I usually find.
So why give us a sort of an example of what you might find for medicinal use during your travels, what sort of thing you might be looking for?
Hawthorn, I'm not sure if, or Mayflower, as some people call it, Crataegus monogyna, which is a medium-sized small tree. It gives flowers in the spring, and then it fruits with some red berries late summer, or actually autumn. And this is a very specific case of wild medicine making, and it's a really good plant for the heart and for the circulatory system. And I'm saying, like, even the physical heart and the emotional heart, it's said to open your heart towards like if you're going out and meeting people, and sometimes you feel like you're not really like in the best place to meet people, and that plant helps you to open that emotional art. But it's also really good to support the circulatory system. It's a tonic for the heart muscle. Yeah, so it does wonders.
I
It's
also
one
have a
of
question.
those.
I have a question for you, right? Because it drives me mad. In the early spring, we get millions of those little yellow flowers come out of the ground. Tiny little yellow, like spread everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. Somebody told me you can actually eat those as like a salad accompaniment. They're quite bitter. But do you know the ones I'm on about? That they are just like everywhere. They cover everything and everywhere in early spring.
I am not sure. There are hundreds of yellow flowers.
Well, when you go for a walk,
Like,
you can see virtually every field, every hedgerow has these yellow flowers everywhere. I can't
but
remember
are they tall?
Not really. No,
About so tall.
they're like this.
I'm not sure. Just
Yeah.
there are millions of
Yeah, it could be anything really, couldn't it?
and most of them are not toxic in Portugal.
Yeah,
but there are some that are really toxic, and that's why you should really know. And going on a foraging walk with a guide, it's usually the best way you have to know these plants.
And how often do you do these walks?
Usually most of the time in the spring, and then later in the season in autumn, and even winter, because like late spring and even just spring and summer, as a farmer, it's really hard to find the time and to have the mind place to do those walks. So mostly in the spring and then later in the year.
So can you take me through a typical walk? What's the structure? How long does it take? Where you go? Tell me something about that.
Yeah, so we usually meet at the farm. We do just a small, quick round circle as to say who you are and to meet everyone there. I usually like to kind of talk about why we should look at plants the way I'm looking at the plants and what's their role in the ecosystem, what's their what's their history of being used by our ancestors. Um, and then we go for the walk. It usually takes about an hour or more. I usually start at 10 and end at 1. So it's around 3 hours, to be true.
Mhm. So
And
what?
in the meanwhile, we go around the farm and I point the plants, we taste the plants, we look at the plants, and everyone always knows something about some plants. So it's always interesting. Yeah.
So that interactivity, how important is that interactivity to you?
Um, so for me, it's a way of sharing the knowledge that was lost. Because just 50 or so years ago, everyone would know, oh yeah, I can eat this plant, or no, that plant is toxic. Um, and now we have completely lost that knowledge. But it's not lost, it's there. We just need to remind ourselves. And I think that happened to me also. Like, I'm not really good with names, for example, or really at mathematics. But for plants, like I can look at the plant and look at its botanical name once, and I will always remember that. So
Mm?
that knowledge for me was there. I just
Yeah.
needed to access it. Yeah.
Can you tell me something? Well, you mentioned that in the family, it's kind of ancient knowledge that's passed down from generation to generation. This knowledge of plants and what can be eaten, what can't. Describe to people, for me, and those people looking, what kind of history the Portuguese have, and where they come from in terms of agriculture, and what's that. Um, how has that been passed down to you?
So that's not an easy question. I don't know much about the history of farming in Portugal. I look at the older people and I talk to them and they explain to me like how I used to do stuff 50 years ago. And at that time there was no fertilizers, no synthetic fertilizers, or if there were, like it was not known to the countryside people. And so people used to use the animal bedding as a fertilizer for the garden, or they would collect the fetus, which I cannot remember the English name, in the mountain, and that was the primary source of feeding the soil and doing agriculture. Yes, they would turn the soil most of the times, but they were also adding a lot of organic matter. And this also depends, like if you were on the shoreline, for example, a lot of people there used algae to feed
Seaweed, yeah,
the soil.
yeah.
Seaweed, yeah.
You can actually get liquid
Uh,
seaweed liquid, yeah,
mhm.
as a fertilizer.
Yeah, but they would use the whole thing. Like they would
Yeah.
take it out of the. It has a name that I cannot remember right now, but they would dry it and then wash it and then bring it back to the fields and
Hmm.
fertilize the fields with it. And this knowledge was it came to me well at a like in the beginning from my watching my grandparents doing this. But I didn't have like a big farmer in my family. I'm not.
Right.
I don't come from a farmer family. Uh, but then I have to go and study, and I watch all these people doing all these crazy things, agroforest, no dig, permaculture. And I just fell in love, and I keep studying and reading books and studying more and applying and seeing what works and what doesn't.
I keep in. Sorry, Eric. No, I'll let you go first, mate, because you haven't said much. Let you carry on.
No, do you have people in your local area that you partner up with that do the same sort of thing that you do, and you sort of collaborate, trade ideas, this and that, or are you doing it all on your own?
So I'm doing it all on my own, but there are people that are doing the same that I'm doing, and we speak to each other, and like if there are any doubts or questions or what do you think about doing like this, and we will talk about the
Cool.
office.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about like the future and permaculture, why we need it, because I keep in an alarming statement. How true it is, I don't know, that there is only maybe 10, 15 years left in our soil of any use. It's basically running out of structure, nutrients. We've overused fertilizers, pesticides. How can permaculture change that? How does that turn the tide?
I think the only way of turning that is with permaculture, because permaculture, at least that I know of, it's the only system that can turn a wasteland into a luxury land again. And that's why permaculture is so necessary for the future. And we are building more resilient ecosystems and more biodiverse. And this, if you look at all of the Earth history, we've only survived, life has only survived because it was so biodiverse. And so the more biodiverse the ecosystem is, the more resilient it will be. And it will be able to deal with all of the heat waves and drought and all of the things that are to come.
So my next question is, and I need to tell people this. I know the answer to this, but I want you to tell them what sort of things happen when you use weed killers, insecticides, like glyphosate, for instance. What actually does that do to the land? It may kill certain things, but what else does it do?
It kills everything it finds on its way, but it also, how do you say this word in English? Like the earth becomes salty.
Okay.
Saline.
Yeah, it becomes saline, and especially from the fertilizers, not so much from the spraying. But then you are just contaminating. It's like when I look at the question, I get this feeling. I don't know. You're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning your children and their children, and yeah, I don't know. Everything is coming.
It doesn't easily disappear from the soil, does it? It finds its way into the water.
No.
It finds it's nasty stuff. It's nasty. It might do the job well,
Yes.
but it gets everywhere, and you'll end up drinking it, eating it. And
are we talking about the buildup of nitrates?
With a lot of things like your nitrates, your glyphosate, if you measure them now in the water, they are ever increasing,
right.
And you'll see sometimes you'll get algal blooms in bits of water because it's full of nitrates.
Yeah,
and it's got to stop because it's sending the balance too far.
Well, what is the ethos of permaculture? Put it simply.
Well, there's your man. There's the man to answer that.
So, Eduardo, simply put, what is permaculture?
So, permaculture is the human design of nature and the community. And so it has some pillars which are taking care of the earth, the fair sharing, and it really is like a community building system of thought, I would say, because like it's really focused on you take care of your soil and your land and all of the things that live in it. So it's not species specific, and then you can share all of that bounty with everyone around you, so your community. So those are really the big basis of permaculture.
Well, you can all
The
work
land
together
and the people.
individually, can't you? You don't have to be one person doing it. You can have one person here doing it and another person doing it there, and you might be growing different things. You might have like we're saying in Portugal, there's microclimates. So your other farmer down the road might have this, and you might have that, and maybe you can trade. You can trade some onions or some cabbages or whatever. And that is the next level of permaculture. It's not just about the ground, is it? It's about being harmonious in nature. It's about being harmonious with each other and finding ways to integrate and be connected together. Am I wrong? That's the way that I see it.
Yeah, it's really like that. Yeah.
Which is good news for everybody, really, because you go to supermarkets and all these places that sell vegetables which are grown in mass, and you have to buy them, and everybody keeps buying them. But as you know, when you grow your own without all these things, there is that extra level of deliciousness, that proper taste. And I can't really say any more about that unless somebody actually tastes their own produce, because it's always going to be a bonus, because you grew it with love, you grew it with care, and you can almost taste that when you with your produce.
So,
Yeah,
Eduardo,
definitely.
tell me about the difference in taste between the crops you grow and the crops that people can buy in the supermarket. Tell me, in essence, what is it? What's the difference in taste? How does it differ?
Uh,
Don't be modest, okay?
See, he probably doesn't
so
buy
have
stuff
you?
in the supermarket anymore, so he
Well,
doesn't
that's
even know
true.
what you're
That's a good
talking
point.
about.
Yeah. So, but I go to restaurants and I eat their salad, and I know like having a paper tissue, like if you chew on a paper tissue and you chew on a tomato from the supermarket, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Now we can attest to that. We
yes.
can support that because we have each of us have grown our own stuff,
Yes.
and by and large, with variants, I would say probably yes. The tomatoes much tastier, much juicier, much sweeter. Sort of fruit, same thing. The oranges you have very sweet.
Never them. Well, for 5 years, 6 years, I've never sprayed them with anything. I've never fed them with anything unnatural, and they just taste out of this world. They
Yeah.
are just beautiful.
Yeah, we've grown peppers, which have been really nice.
Potatoes,
Strawberries.
strawberries.
Yeah, although I never
Strawberries, yeah.
get to taste any of those.
You got to get to
Why?
the trough first.
Yeah,
Somebody else
The
is in the
birds.
trough.
Yeah, I think your birds found out the strawberries.
Now then, normally I always say this every week. I aim for about an hour. I never do. But I got one last question for you, Eduardo, and this is an important one. Now, you're not an old man. You're quite young, right? I've no idea of how old you are, but you're obviously in perfect health and perfect condition for the job that you do. I will class you as the younger man, right? Portugal, for me, its power lies in its land, because for hundreds of years it's fed its people out here in the rural environment. It's kept them going. How do we, and I say we, including you, encourage younger people like yourself to come out here and grow in this type of style? How can we do it? How do we do it?
good question.
And a really hard one. I don't know. I think we are fighting against a really strong force, which is capitalism and the numbing of our minds. And I think it's really hard to go against that. But going in social media, which I'm not really like, I never remember to go in my social media because I'm always constantly busy doing farming. But getting your way of doing the stuff out there and meeting people, and especially having people coming to your farm, even if they are just friends, like if you can influence the people that are around you, like the most direct contact, I think that's the best way you can do. It's the best thing because it's I find it's really hard to make people like things they don't really like.
Well, yeah, I can understand, but I think once you've got involved in it, and then you taste what you're growing or taste what somebody else has been growing,
Hmm.
then you kind of get hooked. You get that, I like this. I could
Hmm.
do this, and I think that's what we've got to sort of nurture and grow ourselves as people,
Hmm.
really. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to put across the bottom there running. Yeah, that is their Facebook group. Okay, so if you have any events or you want to advertise what you're doing, I know you do delicious
Okay.
vegetable trays, which you farm out to the people in the local community and stuff. Put it up there.
Hmm.
Don't be a stranger. Keep talking to us, and we will try and make
Okay.
this little seed grow that
Yeah.
we've planted.
Oh, did you see that little seed?
Little
grow?
seed grow. We'll water it, love it, nurture it like you do every day on your farm, and hopefully we can get people
Yeah.
to come down and do your walks, sample your produce, and of course go to the markets where you sell these things. And
Yeah.
can you just want to tell us where your markets are that you sell, what your routine is for selling?
Yes, I usually go around the area in the markets and I do them every weekend. And I go from Tomar to Serra to Penela and to Espinhal. And those are like the four places I'm constantly at, like every month. I do monthly markets. Otherwise, coming to the farm, it's also possible to collect the vegetable box. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'll do is I'll share your website to the Facebook group. Hopefully, people can contact you from there. And yeah, let's try and make this grow a bit further. Let's work on
Oh,
this.
did you grow a bit
Grow a
further?
bit further. It's all about growing. And we did briefly talk about maybe doing a monthly program together. This is for me regrowing an idea that we used to have, which I did with Carl Munson from the Good Morning Portugal, where people can ask questions. We can have a little program every month where you've got questions about gardening, permaculture, or just generally drop in for a chat and ask us about stuff. We'll work on that maybe and form an idea. And this man can be the centerpin of it all, I think, if he still fancies it. It would take a very similar format to this.
Mhm.
So if you're up for that, then so am I. And obviously, I think Carl might join us as well, which would be good because he will use his audience as well on his channel.
Yeah.
To link with this one. So you think about that. I mean, I know you're a busy man. I completely understand that. Farming is a busy business, but once a month, maybe this time in the evening, let's
Yeah, might
go for
work.
it.
All right.
Right, we've actually done 1 hour and 13 minutes, so my hour is long gone, really, hasn't it? It's dragged on again. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your efforts and your illumination on the world of growing. I never asked you, Eric. Was you ever into growing anything, gardening or anything, or pot plant for tomatoes or anything like that?
You're talking to me.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Eric, did you ever grow anything? Did you ever grow your own?
Eric.
No, I didn't. But actually, my father actually had a degree in horticulture.
Ah,
So he was very much involved in having a garden. He was more involved or interested in plants and flowers and this and that. But I find it very interesting, and this is why I asked the question earlier about how Eduardo handled the soil. and he just, kind of graze the top and lift it. My father would be the guy that gets the rotavator in there and, you know what I mean, churns it all. So, sadly, my father, he's no longer with us, but it would have been an interesting go around for him to have a little conversation with Eduardo about that. But I never got that green thumb from my dad. But
Do you have a balcony where you live?
do I? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have a balcony, Eric?
Yeah, I have two.
See, the space. You could be growing tomatoes or something there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure I water it because the sun gets brutal. Across the street, there's a similar building to the one that I live in, and they have a balcony over there. And the one day I watched a gentleman, he has this big flower box, we'll call it, and he was cultivating the soil and this and that, and he was planting his seeds, and he got his watering can out, and they started coming up. But then nobody watered it anymore.
Yeah.
It was just like a burnt out mess in no time. So you have to keep up with it.
Maybe just try it as an experiment. See if you think it tastes any better than what you're going to buy in the shops.
Okay.
And maybe as a little, to your old man there, you pass, say, look, I did it.
I will take that challenge and report back.
There you go. See, we recruited already, Eduardo. We're one up.
I'll be a city grower because for those who don't know, I live right in the center of Lisbon, so I'll be a city grower.
But anybody can do it as long as you've got a little bit of space somewhere.
Yeah.
It's amazing, really, what you can grow. And I mean, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
You've got enough sun. You've got enough water. The soil is still pretty good. You got all the basic conditions.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
No. So result.
Yes.
So I'm happy.
Thank you, Eduardo.
And we're 1-0 up, and that's good. So we'll go in at full time 1-0 up and win the game.
Yeah.
Right, guys. Thank you again. Illuminating
Thank you.
conversation. And I hope to speak to you all again soon. So take care.
Done. Good guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
You too.
Take care.
Ciao.
Ciao for now.
Till next time.
Ciao.